I think we're live.
Yay!
We did it. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to have two of my favorite people here with me today. And they are going to be answering your questions about how to get clients. This is Paul and Melissa Pruitt. I was trying to think of it like they're multi six-figure business owners. Like it's not even like original multi. They build businesses in everything from real estate to photography. And they really, because they've amassed this knowledge about how to get clients, like, from the ground up, whether you are looking for, your first clients, you're like, I have a business now, or you're like, I want better clients, more high-end clients, or just like a steady stream of clients. So that way you're not like on that roller coaster of scrambling. Now they actually have a business where they focus on helping people do just that. And they have multiple different variations of that business, which I think is so cool. So Paul and Melissa, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule.
We're so excited to be here. Yes, we do a lot of things. We do we like variety.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs do though. I think we get bored very quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's like the classic entrepreneur thing. But you know what's cool is like it's not just multi-passionate, it's you're multi-skilled. You're like, we actually do things and we do it like super successfully. And you're like, okay, check mark, move on.
I think that comes through life also. Just I think we evolve as we get older, and what we were interested in when we were younger and where we are now when you fast forward years later. I think all of us are in a different path, and just you pick up experience. So even though we are all out there and we're all consuming content these days like crazy.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I think a lot of the information is kind of the same information that's recycled over and over again. And you really can't beat the experience of dealing with things in real world and then understanding how to translate that and help others go through the same thing.
Yeah, and it's all part of your journey. That's the coolest thing. It's like if you would have told me like 10, 20 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have been like, no, you're crazy. But it's the skills that you and the experiences that you have that just build upon that, which is really awesome.
Totally. Oh yeah, because I didn't even talk about, so you have a background in psychology.
Yes.
You were a therapist and a life coach. So that's like a whole other like stream of how you got clients, which I know that I have a lot of coaches here who are going to want to hear about how that went down.
Yeah, it was a great journey with that, being a therapist, being a coach. And I do coaching now, just have shifted gears in the realm of what we're coaching on. But at the end of the day, it's still the mindset piece and personal development piece. That's like a constant thread throughout our lives. You just can't like separate it out. So it's cool that we're able to integrate it in with the work that we do now with attracting clients, because there is a big mindset piece with that, as far as like putting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone, trying new things, and that requires that heavy lift in there too.
Oh, totally. It's a huge, like, I know I've heard before, it's like building a business is like the biggest personal development journey you'll go through. And I completely agree with that. So I know that you have just like this insane wealth of knowledge, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about it from that life coaching perspective, because I know that there's so many coaches here. If someone was like, hey, you know what? Like, I got my brand new certification. Like, I just like got it. I'm going to put it on the wall. And like, where are the people? What would you say would be the first step in order to actually make those connections that turn into clients?
Well, the first thing is just to let people know that you exist and that you're out there, because I think that's the biggest thing. And we talk about it's kind of like 00 secret agent. We have this degree, we have these skill sets, we can we can help people, but we don't put ourselves out there and start the conversation that we can actually do what we do and help people, because we're either afraid to, or we're afraid of, putting ourselves out there. So it's letting people know through that engaging conversation that we have something to offer them, that we have something to help them. So I mean, that would be the first step.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
true, and that's really scary. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
And it's like Field of Dreams, like you build it and they'll come. So I think a lot of people, we see this a lot, where it's like everybody, my friends, my family, like people out, they know that I do this. They should be coming to me. They should be working with me. And then there becomes a lot of self-doubt and a lot of internal talk, because then you start judging yourself and the fear of rejection a lot of times. So it is something, as Melissa was saying, is like you have to go from that being invisible to going a little bit out of your comfort zone. I have to tell you that we're in a day and age these days where everybody is really relying on the social media, which we love. We're very big on social media.
And you guys are really good at it too.
And there's a lot of incredible things that you can do that you couldn't do in the past to attract clients. But what happens is we use that as an easy excuse to, if you just get a little bit out of your comfort zone. We bank where we make most of our money. We bank on our competitors to stay inside of their comfort zone.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Just by us going a little bit outside of it, by you having that little bit of friction, you will separate yourself from like 90-95% of your competitors, because they will stop at that point where you just stopped. And just by taking that extra step, it doesn't have to be a huge step, just that little bit, you're going to separate yourself from everybody else.
That's genius. So I think that there's two streams that we need to talk about here. There's the practical, and then there's that whole mental thing that you were talking about. It's like, it's scary and no one wants to do that. But like, if we can just get past that, then we could actually do the practical thing.
Sure.
So maybe let's talk about that whole like mindset piece and what we could do to like, I don't know if it's like a silencing the doubt thing or just like screwing up the courage and pushing through. What do you think is better?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's one of those things that, the whole thing, fake it till you make it. Like you have to at least try. You have to at least put yourself out there, because without that motion and moving forward, where people get stuck is that they just stay still and they don't move. They're in that state, and that's a mental state. That's a physical state that their actual body is in too, that they're not able to take those actions. So by just getting up and moving and focusing on one thing, that's the one thing I talk about. We have a group, our Dream 100, which are our high level people that we coach, and they get super overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. So every week we do a accountability call, and I always say on the call, just focus on the one thing that's going to move the needle in your business, the one thing that's going to make you just get outside and start moving. And then when you get the motion going, then you can focus on the second thing and then the third thing. But we get stuck and we don't move, and then we just are in that frozen state. So it's all about just getting our bodies up and moving and doing the thing and pushing through that one thing one at a time. And it sounds so basic, but it's, that's what gets us out of our comfort zone and starts to get our mind to shift that, yes, we can actually do this. And yes, we have something really valuable to share.
Totally. Yeah. And it's so true when we get shiny object syndrome, right? Everyone's like, oh, you got to do butts, you got to do webinars, you got to do this. And you're like, and then you end up doing like just a little tiny fraction of each thing, and then nothing works, and then you feel really crappy because you're like, I put all this work in, which is true, but it's not enough to actually move the needle because you only did like the small little bit of each one.
Exactly.
And keep in mind that this isn't anything new, though.
No, it's not, but it's still true.
If you rewind back in time, I grew up in a household that I swear every single infomercial that ever came on, we owned, my parents owned that product, and it sat there. So it didn't matter if it was the E-Force and you're thinking that you're gonna like lose this weight just by pumping this bike thing up and down. It became like a laundry rack, right? So it's just we've moved on into the online space, and the thing is, we get more exposure because we used to be able to turn the TV off and we wouldn't buy a product because we would distract ourselves, and now it's there right in front of us. So we can't even begin to implement one thing where the next new shiny object is there. And with what Melissa does with the accountability calls, it's like we are always looking at everybody else like these big, huge successes, right? And we think success is these huge milestones. And really what it breaks down to is it's incremental decisions that are made that are not sexy. They're the incremental small decisions on a daily basis and the action that you take on a daily basis, like that small thing. And you think it's nothing in the moment, right? But it's like what happens is you make consecutive decisions like that, and they stack up and they build. And that becomes like a medium-sized success. And that may be something you don't brag to anybody or whatever. But then when you take those medium ones and you stack them, all of a sudden people are like, wow, I saw what you just accomplished. And they don't realize, like, you didn't do this one big thing. And
it wasn't like a big leap.
In the online space, like everything is like these big, huge launches, these big, huge things. It's like, you know what? It's these small micro decisions that because every day we wake up and we make one or two choices. Either one that we're slowly staying on track and making decisions that keep us on track, or we're making a decision to slowly sabotage ourselves and slowly take us off the track on what we want to accomplish. Like we're making those small decisions every day. Every single day. And it's keeping you pulled back on track is most important.
That's such a great way to look at it, because if you wake up and you're like, okay, I know here's my day. I can do this, or I can do the one thing like Melissa was saying, and this is actually going to take me here, and this is going to like
exactly
take me all the time even more. And it's one of the things where it's like it's simple, but it's not easy to do. But it's so true when you point it out. You're like, it can actually be like as simple as a yes or no choice.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It's making the decision in the morning, and it's having that self-discipline to know it's that one thing, to just keep really focused, because it's so easy to get off track. I mean, you know that. It's like, squirrel off the other end. So just to have that self-discipline, listen, if I do this one thing, and then if I get it done, because I think a lot of times we think, well, if I'm not doing all the things, then I'm not doing anything. I'm like, no, focus on that one thing and do it really, really well. Get it done. And then you can do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
So when you talk about like, showing up in one place or like doing one thing, is there like a particular platform that you find is sort of like working better for some people versus others? Or is it just sort of like, if you're starting out and you don't know, are you shooting in the dark, or what do you think is the best? Because you work with so many people that you get this like bird's eye view of what is actually getting clients for people.
So I will say, in a lot of people, there's going to be the reverse of the movement that's going on. But when you come in right out the gate, because the sexy part of what's being pushed out there these days is immediately jumping right to scale.
Yeah.
Like just immediately skipping over human beings, personal relationships, and just going, okay, everybody's a number.
I hate that.
This is where it's sexy, because people see these big numbers, they see these multi-million-dollar launches and everything, and that's what gets them to buy the product and the course and the membership, whatever. But when you really come back down to it, what you have to understand is that we, as human beings, we all, even though you think you're scaling and you're going to the masses, everybody is receiving your information as an individual, not as a room of people, as an individual. So if you're not connecting with that person one-on-one, so now when we rewind this back, it's like, okay, if you want to scale at one point, you need to make every single individual feel like the most important person on earth. Mm-hmm. And what you need to do, and I heard that originally from Earl Nightingale many, many years ago, and it's something that what you need to do is you need to connect with people on an individual level. And if you have no business at all, that means you do have time. You do, because if you have no clients, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of consuming content all day long, 24 hours a day, you need to take a step back and you need to develop relationships one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And if you think you don't have time to do that, well, you're never going to have time to service clients, because if you don't have time to build your business, and it's the non-sexy way, but we're all about going deep with fewer people by actually developing relationships with individuals. And understand that it's amazing. There is actually a human being that's staring at that screen. So when you treat them like a number, we all feel it. We know it.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
So if you're new, I'd say you need to first, this is like sales 101, but you start off with the people you already know. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we need to build rapport. And how do we define rapport these days? Like, know, and trust. I mean, that's been going on forever. So you need to understand those three qualities. Well, you know what? If somebody already knows you, the people that are already in your natural world, why not start there? Like, know, and trust. They already like you, they already know you, and they most likely trust you. And
so it's like you've already scaled that mountain straight away.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you go from them and you go to the peripheral people that their circles are around. And then you build out the strangers. Because if you can't convince somebody about your product or service of people you already know, how are you going to get a cold audience? How are you going to get somebody you don't even know to believe in what you're doing? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, again, in that pursuit of scale, they forget that there actually are human beings on the other side. And ironically, it amazes me that look at all the top influencers, and as an example, in the internet marketing space, where do they make most of their money? It's typically live events, like the end of their value chain, the end of their ladder, when they make the $30,000 and a $50,000 pitch, right?
Yeah.
They used online to leverage the relationship to warm you up so that when they met you face to face, you actually pulled your wallet out even more. And isn't it ironic that it's not online, that it actually is face to face, that it is human interaction? And we allowed all the social media channels to convince us that we don't need to meet people face to face or talk to individuals anymore.
Have conversations.
Yeah, to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I
So
even see that a lot.
yeah.
No, that was amazing. I absolutely love that. And there was so many, like, I love the idea of, you're like, okay, if you have this chunk of time that you're using to squirrel and you're just consuming content, that is the time that you would be serving clients with. So if you flip the script and you're like, use that time to actually reach out and make those connections that will bring you clients, then you can fill that time with, revenue producing income. So you have it already. You already have that time. It's just like switching the reframe.
Yes.
And I've been on this rant, you've probably seen it, that I really am obsessed with helping people like on a deeper level, and not just doing this like shallow wide thing. Like, I love what you guys are doing with the narrow deep. It's just like, I see what works as well. Like, I mean, I've worked with so many businesses, and I know that transformation happens on that really like deep connected level. It's not on the surface level. It just doesn't happen. And I think a lot of people for sales pages, even, they assume that they can just put up a page and walk away from it and be like, I don't have to do anything else. But in reality, just from live chat, not thinking of emails, Messenger, Facebook Lives, all that sort of stuff, we're seeing 25 to 30% of sales being closed on live chat on a sales page.
Yes.
Like, we still need, like, yes, it's great because you know what? It gives you confidence because you know exactly what you're talking about. When you get on a call, 9 out of 10 of the questions are going to be things you talked about anyway. They just need that personal connection to know that you are a human. And I think that it's so great that it's like, when you're able to change that around and realize that it permeates through all channels of our business, I think it makes us feel normal that people are reaching out to us as well. Not like, oh, did I do something wrong? Because I'm getting a message.
Right.
And how many times have we hesitated? We've gone to, not even in this space, but in others, like, you're going to go buy a product service here on that company's website, and you're like, they only have like a customer support phone number or an email. Like, this is like an invisible company. I think I'm going to go somewhere else, And I've always looked at it that, to me, in in-person sales, like, when somebody gives you an objection, when they actually ask you a question, that is a huge buying signal. That is like, because if they were not interested at all, they would have just back out that website, go somewhere else, right? So
Totally.
if you have that ability for them to talk to you in the moment and say like, hey, is this really lifetime? Or, hey, what's the guarantee about? Or what's, that's a question in their mind. That's the only roadblock typically that's stopping them. And it's just an unanswered question. And they just want reassurance, like you said, a lot of times. And when you're invisible and you're not there, then they're on the hunt and seek looking for the answer. And if they don't find it, or you make it inconvenient for them, they're going to bounce. And so I definitely could see like conversions, because again, that's why I love in-person sales, because it's like in the moment, real time. You tell me, you actually give me all the goodness. Like, you're going to say like what your question is, and I already know the 2 or 3 things that I'm going to respond that make you feel at ease in replying to that question. And in sales, they call them rebuttals. And it's like, so, but you have it's a new opportunity to then help convert the sale. So when you have no voice at all, you don't know how many people are landing. They just had a simple, your sales page was just missing one simple line. One line.
It is so true.
And I'll tell you, if you had that 2-way conversation, they're going to tell you what that one line is that's missing, and then you can go in and fix it.
Copy and paste that right in there. And you're like,
and the conversions will just improve incredibly. Yeah, but again, it comes back to
it's taking the time too. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is taking the time. And I think a lot of times it's like, again, it's that automation, the scaling, make money while you sleep. It's like taking the time to actually answer those questions, because again, like Paul was saying, like, those are real people. Those are real people, real questions, real concerns. And I mean, we've done many times where we've jumped on just a Zoom call with someone that just needed clarification, and they're like, oh my gosh, thanks so much for taking the time. Well, why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we nurture that relationship? Whether they're going to buy, I mean, and if they don't end up buying, like, that becomes a raving fan for later on, or someone that's going to refer us, like, oh my gosh, Paul and Melissa are great, and you should definitely talk to them because they actually care and they take the time.
Sure.
And I love that you guys, so for those of you who don't know, they have the Dream 100, and they work with people only like they have a membership, but it's like a very small membership and a very deep level. And I love that you guys have, instead of going like, you're like, I want 100 people or 1,000 people coming into my membership, you actually cap every single launch. Like you only take what, 20 people at a time?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that particular membership we opened in January, and we, without doing any Facebook ads at all, just because the people that do follow us and know the results that we get over and over again, we opened up to 20 people within a matter of like 3 days, without any ads, without any emails, just people that are like personal circles. They took those initial 20. Then we slowly, incrementally. So we're at 50 people right now, and we have it, just for about a week, open up for the next 20 people. And we'll slowly do that, but we'll never go more than 100 people total. That's why it's the Dream 100. So for us, it is about, again, going deeper with fewer people, because we know what's going on. We know that, because entrepreneurship is not this straight line like of perfection. Like there's people, that in their course they'll go up and down. Then sometimes in entrepreneurship that happens in a day. Emotionally.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like sometimes in an hour you're like, I'm on top of the world. You're like, I can't do anything.
So, and just to have like this, kind of like a virtual business partner, knowing that you can come in, you can check in with us. Even today, recording this, like we have office hours every week for 3 hours. We go on a Zoom call, and any of the members can come in and ask the question in the moment. And this was based on when I owned my real estate company, because I used to have 8 offices and over 200 agents that worked for me. And it was like, got a minute was the most thing. Like they would lean in on the threshold of the door and say, hey, Paul, do you got a minute? Usually like
200 people.
You didn't hang out all day long. It's like you popped in, you had a couple questions, and you popped out and kept going with your day. And we modeled the office hours, off of that, outside the other deliverables.
What I love about it is that, like, I know our people. That's the coolest thing, is I know who they are. I know about their families. I know about their life. I know what they're working on, and we can have those deeper conversations and do deeper dives into their businesses, and take into account with everything else they have going on in their life. Because I think sometimes we just focus on the business piece, but you have to consider all the other things that's going on. I mean, right now we work with a lot of moms, and moms' kids are home from school, and so that makes an impact in their business. Like, so it's how can we still do what we need to do our marketing and put ourselves out there, but then we have our kids at home and trying to figure out, take care of them while they're home for the summer and enjoy the summer too. So it's that, that balance of, that dance that we have with business, with life, and everything else that we have going on.
Yeah. And that's so true, because we created a business to actually have time, but then oftentimes we created this virtual screen prison for ourselves.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how can we not do that? And I think it's so great that you guys have really so the exact way that you launched this business was exactly how you talked about it in the beginning, where you're like, how do you get clients? You know what? Start just posting on your personal Facebook. Of course. And you do have such a wonderful touch about it. It's so light. It's so easy and inviting. You're not like, hey, buy my stuff, No one is going to be into that. But you're just like, hey, you know what? This is what we've done in our businesses. Here's what we've accomplished. Would you be interested in doing the same? So you're just inviting people into that journey. If you're like, hey, you know what? This is what we've done. Do you want to get there too? And it just when I see you guys do it, it's just it feels so like a warm, cozy blanket. It's just not, it feels like a personal post.
Yeah.
And it is on your personal profile.
It is, yeah.
And I would say it truly is as well, because we practice what we preach. We live a lifestyle. We do a lot of travel. We pay down all of our debt. It's something what we're showing other people to do. There's so many people out there that push, a certain way in a certain lifestyle, but really behind the scenes, it's all fake and facade. And for us, it's we've been very purposeful. This is not about bragging and boasting and positioning and posturing constantly. It's your business should serve your life. And so many people are a slave. Ironically, they got out of a 9-to-5 so they could then work 80 to 90 hours a week and be a slave of a business, hoping that they make a fraction of what they did in the 9-to-5 while they follow their
really.
Yeah, and it's just reverse engineering that. It's okay, here's your life, here's what you want. How can we structure? Because if you're doing 80 hours now, you're going to do 80 hours 10, 20, 30 years from now. You're setting yourself up for it. So you're going to get ingrained in those patterns. So it's what can you do now? Purposeful decisions to make sure that your business serves your life instead of reverse. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not getting to the point where you are burned out. It's actually doing it at the beginning, so you have the proper setup. and the proper systems in place, so that way you can actually move forward and scale. Like I like to say, it's like scaling impact and scaling revenue, not just scaling all the shiny objects of stuff that is actually just a huge distraction, is part of the reason you're working 90 hours.
Right. And by doing this, by showing this in our personal space, it is not a sell in a way, because everybody that's following us sees that we're true to our message and what we're about. So they naturally want to be part of that. So we don't have to pitch them as hard. We don't have to talk about it or be as aggressive. And if you think about this, like in the real world, you know, in our lives, we've bought a subservient product or service based on a personal relationship, based on personal connections. Like you go and you grab dinner somewhere that your friend owns the restaurant, is because you love them. They don't have the best pasta, but you still do them. You know what I mean? So, you know, you bought a car from your friend, you know, so it's just something like when you have that deeper connection, like people are naturally are pre-indoctrinated, and they're going to, again, like, know, and trust. They're naturally going to flow into that process because they're going to be they're already your biggest cheerleader, and they're going to want to support you. And it ends up being a win-win-win all the way around. Instead of, I'm telling you, people don't want to be treated like numbers. At the end of the day, when you look at the scale movement, you're 100, even though business is a numbers game, but when people feel it and they're treated that way, then there's no emotional connection. There's no long-term play there. It's short-term. And everybody that we see that plays for the short-term, you don't see them 2-3 years later. Like they might come in like a bottle rocket, they go poof, and they disappear, you know, and like, oh, where's that person? They were like really popular a couple years, no, because they burned through everybody. Because they were only worried about the numbers. They're always like, what can I sell you next? What can I sell you next? What can I sell you next? And if you create this type of relationship, people will come to you and ask for the next.
Exactly. And I think that that's great, because you just set up that premise where it's like, it is attraction marketing at the best. You're able to show your life, what you're living. You know, this isn't like a pipe dream. You guys are all over the place. I see that. That's why I sent you an email last night. I'm like, I want to send you something. Are you going to be home? Oh my God, I want raccoons to get to something. And yeah, but I think that that's perfect. It's like when you're able to showcase yourself, and I'm actually really terrible at that. I never promote myself, like almost ever. Like if I do, it's like I'm so like behind the scenes, and it like takes a lot of gumption for me to do that. And I know, you know, I have lots of pictures of me living my life. I travel all the time, but I don't showcase that. Even though it's like I'm living the example of what other people would love to do. I'm always like, oh, I don't want to post a picture of me on the beach, because I also don't, I feel like it's hard to walk the line to be like the fake Instagram life.
Yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself about that either, because you get to select what lens you want to show people to, and on the other end too, because we do lots of travel and we showcase all the things, but there's lots of things about our life that we keep private too, that we don't showcase. I mean, and like you said, the fake, I think people, that's a whole other conversation about the fake Instagram life, because again, it's being authentic, true, and engagement, and giving people a glimpse of that life and who you are from your perspective, from your lens, and you have the opportunity to share, you know, what you want to share too. So.
Well, this is such an amazing conversation. I know that people will take so much away from this. So let's just sort of do a little recap. So when you're looking for clients, what you should be doing is reaching out to your actual personal network first and building off of that, which seems easy, but it is scary. And I totally get that. And working on your mindset is actually going to help you be able to do the thing. Because like putting a post out there is not technically hard.
Right.
We know that.
Right.
But when you're able to like push past the mindset piece, that will actually let you do the practical thing that you have to do. And also it's about using the time that you have now when you have fewer clients, or if you have a block where you're like, I want to actually go after better clients, using that time in order to build the personal relationships with people that you see, you know what, you look like you could be the right person to work with me, because you have that bank of time that you should be using effectively and not just filling it with extra stuff.
That's exactly.
It was like words.
Dramatic pause. I think it comes down to fear of rejection for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So when you do a Facebook post, it's the equivalent of doing mass mailings back in the day. Like when you send out mass mail, you didn't feel or know who like looked at your postcard and threw it in the garbage can. And when you do a post, you don't feel directly like who's scrolling by it. You're kind of, that's not going to engage in it. And again, it's just that little bit coming out of your comfort zone, because I'd rather spend a little bit extra time out of my comfort zone actually connecting with people, knowing again that all the competitors are not taking the time. They're not doing it. And this is what's going to separate you very, very rapidly. Because for some people, it's like, oh, they launch something like, oh, if I get, for the founders launch, if I can get 50 people, but then they're like talking scaling and cold audiences. And it's like, why don't you just warm people up and actually have, if you had conversations, like I'm not talking like all day long, but just like an actual two-way conversation with like 100 people, probably half of those people would convert to your thing because you're connecting with them on a whole different level than 99.9% of the rest of your competitors are.
And you're giving them something, you're giving them time, and you're giving them value, which a lot of times we don't do. We kind of glaze over that, but you're actually having that engaging conversation to give that value to that person. And that's the biggest gift that you can give.
It is, exactly. And that is a gift that you can afford to give when you're looking for clients too, because you actually have that time. Exactly. So I think this is just such an incredible reframe for people to take away and go, okay, I can actually do this. I have this time. This is what I'm going to do with it.
Is that right?
Oh, no, go ahead.
So what we talk about a lot also is how you'll free up this time is doing a mind shift as well, going from being a consumer of social media and content and becoming a producer of it. Yes. So when you go through the mind shift of saying, okay, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm scrolling for a half hour, I'm going to bed scrolling, and during lunch I'm scrolling, and you're trying to keep up with anything and everything, you're probably in like 300 Facebook groups, notifications and dings and bangs from things that don't really matter. And I just challenge anybody, if you want to make up that time, you need to unfriend, unfollow, you need to leave groups that are not serving you. Like, this is all just an overwhelming amount of distraction, which is non-productive time. Like, where could you shave off to get that time that you're already spending as a consumer of content versus a producer? And if you want to see this on steroids, I want you to just go on Instagram, look at all the influencers that you follow, and you see that they have 1 million followers, they have 100,000 followers, they have 20,000 followers. And I want you to see how many people they are following. How much time do they spend in their feed on the daily? No, they have 200 people they follow.
True. Yeah, totally true.
So they're not bombarded by consuming as a lot of us are. And you have the time. You're addicted, and it's shifted into the wrong space. And when you shift it into being a producer, you'll then look at that time opportunity differently, that you will have the time to talk to people individually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember if we were live when I was saying this, or if it was before, where I was like, I get last week I had 4 notifications from Facebook where it's like, you need to post something, and I'm like, no, I'm busy actually. Like, I'm off social media because I'm doing things, and I have to put like the blinders on.
Yes.
So yes, I love that idea when you're able to take away the distractions and allow yourself to actually focus and then produce things that actually, if you produce one piece of content, even if that's just a post, you can use that post in multiple places, and that's not just like a one and done.
That's true.
So true.
We live by that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Content syndication.
We call it squeezing it dry. You take it, you squeeze it dry.
I love that. Bring it out. Well, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for spending a whole whopping half hour with us in the middle of everything that you guys are doing right now. I would love to point people in the right direction of where to find you to get more goodness, because I know that this is just like the little teeny tiny bit of the whole iceberg, like not even the part above the water. This is just like little.
So I will say that like with our Dream 100 Mastermind, even though it's open, it's like not publicly. So because again, it is about us having engaging conversations and bringing people in. So it's not a public facing offer. But we do have, it's like everybody, we do have incredible lead magnets and other opportunities on our main website, which is deepimpactmarketing.com. And of course, because we do all things marketing, just hit the page and I'll indoctrinate. You'll get my pixel. And what'll happen is we are very meta, where, even in our Facebook ads, like we show you exactly, we'll tell you what we're doing, how you've been pixeled and how you can do it as well. And we'll take you down a journey where you can see all the magical things you can do with online marketing. And it's not a hard sell whatsoever.
And if you want to connect with us personally, I'm on Instagram, so Real Melissa Pruitt. You can connect with me over there. I'm sharing a lot of goodies over there in Instagram world, so people can connect with me over there, Real Melissa Pruitt. So
yeah, you're a great Instagrammer. You're like Instagram goals, hashtag goals. Well, thank you so much. I will put the link for Deep Impact Marketing in the comments, wherever the comments are. I think it's above me on Facebook. I know, I'm always like, where did they go? And then that way you can pixel them. And like I said, I haven't been on Facebook. So now I need to go, like, I've been on your site. I need to go be found by you. I want you to find me. I did one Facebook ad where I did like hide and seek, where it's like, let's go find each other. And it was like super fun. So I want to play hide and seek with you.
That's great. I love it.
I won't. It's a very fun one that we have going right now, but I won't spoil it.
Okay. I'll have to go on my feet. I'll have to dive in and actually see it for myself.
Great. Thank you. And also thank you for taking the time and inviting us here.
This is so fun.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, I know that we're going to get a lot of replay views because people were letting me know, like, I'm going to be watching. I can't make it live. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people like catching this replay. So I'm super excited to see what they found out about it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.